Hi guys, my name is Nelly. So I moved back to Canada after 23 years living abroad, and this is my story. I was born in Armenia, and at the age of 3, my family and I moved to Canada. We lived here in Montreal, and so it's Quebec. It's a French speaking province. So at the age of 3, I already knew 3 languages: French, English, and Armenian. And then we lived in Canada for 5 years. Uh, I really liked life in Canada, even though I was little, and I don't know if I remember as much as I think I do, or it's just the videos that I've seen because my parents were recording nonstop. I guess I got that content creating thing from my dad because he was always recording us. So we had a lot of VHS cassettes. And so, yeah. But then, after like 5 years living in Canada, we moved to Russia, to Moscow. And most of my life, I have lived there. So I remember my first memory. It's kind of vivid, but so we landed in 2000, I guess it was like 2001 or 2002. So we landed in Russian airport. I think it was like Sheremetyevo or something. And back in the days, like it was really horrible. I remember it was like a scene from a movie. Like everything's dark. There's a one light that's going like this, turning on, off, on, off. I thought like, oh my God, where am I? And immediately I thought, as soon as I grow up, I'm going back to Canada. And I lived with that thought every single day of my life until the age of like 20 years old or something. I remember my friend at school was always saying to me, like, Nelly, come on, you were just a kid. Like, when you're a child, everything seems much like better and cooler. So, and she was saying, like, it doesn't mean that now, if you move back to Canada as an adult, you will still like Canada. But I didn't hear any of that because I knew that I love Canada. And also, like, for me, my motherland was Armenia, was also Russia because I lived there most of my life. But to be honest, Canada was like almost number one for me, always in my heart. Listening English language was very, very like calming and very close to my soul. I don't know. Since I was a kid, as soon as people will find out that I know multiple languages, because at one point of my life I knew 4 languages. I think, like I knew like English, French, Armenian, and Russian until the age of maybe 10 or something like that. But at the age of 10, I couldn't speak French anymore. I could understand when I was hearing it, and then at one point I just forgot it. I still remember some words, like simple words, because when I went to university and we had to choose the second language. So the first was English for everyone, and the second, I was studying university in Russia. Everyone should have like a foreign language, which was English, and then the second one, like the main one was English, and the second one I wanted to choose French so that I can remember it again or just like learn it. But the group was like too small, so there was not enough of people, and that's why I went to Spanish class. And I was shocked how similar the languages are. I knew a lot of words because like pourquoi, porque, and all the like counting one, un, deux, trois, quatre, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, like it's very, very similar. Um, but yeah, I went to French lessons, but I kind of didn't like the like studying in a group, and so I still till this day don't know French. But I'm very hopeful that one day I'm gonna learn it again. So as I was saying, I lived in Russia, and I said that I wanted to go back to Canada until I was like 20 or something, because when you get older, so I was in university. I think at year two of university, I started thinking like, I mean, I would like to go to Canada, but if I go alone, then like my family will be far away. Just like adult thoughts are starting to hit me. And then I just kind of forgot about that idea. I knew that I don't want to stay in Russia because the mentality wasn't close to my mentality. And just in general, like, I don't want to say anything like bad because I lived there my whole life almost. But it wasn't just like that country is not for me. I knew that from day one. And then when I was like 12, I was almost 20, 19, I met my future husband. So and he was also Armenian. He happens to be Armenian because honestly, I wasn't really attracted to Armenian guys. That's a long story, but anyways, he ended up being Armenian. And then I didn't tell him that I have a Canadian citizen. For Russians, they have to get visa everywhere where they go in the world. And when we would go like on trips with my classmates or just like with friends, like family friends, everyone will get travel visas. And I have never ever seen a visa in my life. I remember one day at school, um, when we were like planning to go on a trip to Europe, the kids all got their visas and they brought the passports at school. And I was like, wow, show me your visa. And they were like, wow, show me your Canadian passport. And so it's almost like famous people don't tell others when they meet them, like, hey, I'm famous, because they don't want them to use them for that. uh, it's kind of like that. So that's why when I met my future husband, I didn't tell him for a while that I have a Canadian citizen. And then at one point, I was like, yeah, actually, I have a Canadian citizen. He was like, what? Excuse me? So, but still, at that point, his family still lived in Moscow and he didn't want to go far from them as well. So we were planning that when we would get married, we will move to Europe, maybe. I recorded for like 30 minutes and then I find out that I was not focused in the shot. So I'm gonna try to do this again. So, as I was saying, um, in 2019, my husband and I got engaged, and in 2020 we got married. I'm skipping this part because it's not very important for the sake of the story. So in 2021, in October, my son got born. I mean, my son was born, and then after that, we decided to go to Armenia. Actually, my husband flew first, and because of this whole situation, unfortunately, he missed our son's first birthday. So after my son became 1 year old, I think like a week later or so, we had a ticket to Armenia as well. We decided to move there, and we didn't thought that it's going to be our like last destination. We thought it's going to be just our what's the word in English? Anyways, we thought that we're going to stay there just for a short time until we'll figure out our next step. At that point, my husband's mom already moved to US a while ago, and so we started thinking that maybe we should think about moving to Canada because there are like more opportunities. Because I find myself searching countries in Europe. Like I really like Spain because when I was like at school, every year at summer we will go on vacation there with my family, and that's why I really like Spain. Is also has like a space in my heart, special place in my heart. So there's a saying in Russian that goes like, Don't confuse tourism and immigration, because like I would love to go like on a summer vacation to Spain, but at some point when I was searching all these countries, I said to my husband, like, you know what? I think we're trying to find the like a country in Europe that will have all the like good qualities that we like in Canada, but that's just impossible because that's just a different like mentality, a different everything. Basically, they have their advantages, but the disadvantages that they have, I cannot deal with them. And if we're trying to find a place like a forever home, forever like country that we want to stay at, I think we should start thinking about like towards Canada, you know. So that's what we did. But my husband, for some reason, he thought that the whole like immigration process application, it would take my less time. So I was trying to explain to him that like that's not the case. But because he thought that if we applied, then like in a short amount of time, like let's say 6 months, we have to move to Canada. And he was saying that he's not really like mentally prepared for that. And so a year went by as we were living in Armenia. And at that point, you know, like my whole life when I lived in Russia, there, like, if you haven't been in Russia, I'm just going to like quickly tell you about it. So I'm not going to say anything like super bad about it. I'm just going to say my experience. Since I don't even look like Russian, you know, even though I was speaking 95% of my day, sometimes even 100% of my day in Russian, and I have zero accent since I grew up there. I learned the language there, like when I was super, super little. So just, you know, so you understand the situation. There were like, I didn't notice things that when I was little. I started noticing weird things when I got older and I started going to university by myself using the public transport. And I noticed that people are looking in a weird way at me, or like there were a lot of situations when I was at my second year in university, I started like being friends with like Armenian girls, which was like a new thing to me because my whole life I was speaking Russian with my friends. And so I remember this one time we were somewhere, let's say like in a cafe in a line, and I said something to her in Armenian, and it was so quiet. Like, I know there are people who move to another country and they think that like it's okay to like you know, walk around and yell, like literally yell in their language to each other, or speak loudly on the phone in public. Like for me, it's disrespectful. And I didn't do that. I was literally almost whispering to my friend something in Armenian, and it was like a quick thing. And then the older generation that was born before, like let's say like before the I would probably say in the early, like in the 1940 or so, so like grandmas, you know, they would get really, really, really upset and sometimes aggressive. So one grandma told me like get out of here, go back to where you came from or something like that. And you know what? It was a common thing, and it still is till this day. You can hear that everywhere. As soon as they hear different language than Russian, which is kind of weird for me because at one point when Soviet Union was a thing, like there were so many cultures and languages in Russia, in Russia, and it was okay back in the day. But now, these grandmas that grew in an environment with a lot of nationalities and languages, for some reason they hate if someone is not Russian, you know? I mean, we know what's that named, what's that called? I mean, I'm not going to say that out loud. So, and that happened multiple times, just with me. With other of my friends that also happened, and I hear that all the time with other people on the streets. And when you hear that, honestly, I felt bad. If I was younger, I would thought that it was like I did something wrong. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I was just speaking in my language very, very quietly with my friend, and I don't know why that made very upset. Why that made so upset this woman, but you just don't feel at home when you hear stuff like that. So I never felt like I was 100% like that's my home when I was in Russia. Something was always missing. And then when I moved to Armenia, it's like almost the same, but it's not this aggressive because Armenian are known for being very open, friendly. But when I would speak Russian and like when if I speak Russian in public, uh like people will, because like obviously I look like Armenian, and so people will like give me this look, like assuming like their look says like, don't you know Armenian, like something like that. And also my husband will also, because that when when an Armenian person speaks in Russian in public, that gains like attention. And because of that, my husband will also say to me like, don't speak in Russian in public. And like I'm used to speaking that all my whole life. That's basically my main language. And I know Armenian, I knew Armenian, but since I didn't speak a lot in Armenian, I wasn't very confident in speaking, and I couldn't. Uh, like it's kind of similar with English, but English is easier for me because I can express myself better. And in Armenian, that's not the case because Armenian is a very, very hard language. And because in Soviet Union, like all the countries knew Russian, like everyone who was born before the 2000, they know Russian. So because of, and they, in every country like Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Ukraine, everyone were speaking Russian. That was the main language. So because of that, till this day, that generation of people, they still mix Russian and Armenian when they're talking, and that's what I was doing a lot. But when you do that, the the locals will look at you. um I don't know, when you mix Russian and Armenian, it basically means I don't really know Armenian 100%, because like obviously I didn't live in Armenia. But for someone who doesn't live in the country and know that much of the language, I think that's pretty like decent. But there was this feeling like when you start mixing Russian and Armenian, it's pretty much if you go to Quebec, start speaking French, and then at some point you forgot a word and you say something in English. I know Canadians know what I'm talking about. Their face will change immediately, and their attitude and everything. It's not as critical in Armenia, but I will feel this feeling that like I'm not enough, basically. And I would feel that in Russia and Armenia. And so I would never feel like I'm at home. And so I really, really wanted to, like, I mean, we live once, so I really wanted to go back to Canada. I had this feeling with me for like 23 years, that I have to go back to Canada. And since it's very far away, and my family is a family of five, I mean, my father, my mother, my sister, me, my brother. So there's a lot of us. It would be a very expensive trip to Canada. So that's why we never went back, even like to visit, because we still have friends here, like my parents do. So I convinced my husband that I think we should go to Canada. We should try to move there. And so we started this process. We hired a like immigration consultant. I think for 6 months or maybe even a year, we were collecting all these necessary documents. Then we paid all the fees, and on April 12th, 2024, we applied for the spousal sponsorship for my husband. And it said that it will, like, the waiting time is 11 months, but today, when I'm recording this, it's May 3rd, 2025, and we still don't have the approval for his PR. And so what happened is that one day we received a message from immigration saying that we should prove that we're planning to reside in Canada when my husband will receive his PR. And we didn't know any other way how to prove that besides for me and my son moving to Canada, since he's also a citizen. Because of me, he received his citizenship like very fast. And so literally in like a couple of days, we bought a ticket to Canada. And originally our plan was to move together to Calgary, Alberta. But since I have to move along with my son, we decided that it will be like safer and easier, and it would just be better for all of us if I will move to Toronto, where I have family. So I have my uncle, which is like he's my dad's cousin, so he's like my second uncle, or I'm not sure how it's called. So basically, yeah, my uncle lives here. And so we moved here, and it's been already 2.5 months since we're living here with my uncle's family in Toronto. And still, we haven't received my husband's PR. And for some reason, immigration is trying to do everything they can to delay this process. And we received another letter recently saying that we have a month to send them new list of documents that have nothing to do with this particular visa, which my consultant also agreed that like they never asked these documents, so they're just trying to delay the process and give them a little bit more time. I don't know why, but that's what's happening. And so yeah, so that's my story, how and why I moved to Canada. And I was also so nervous at the time when we received that message saying that we need to send proof. And like I couldn't believe that I'm going to like leave my husband, take my son, move on the other part of the planet alone with my son. And we weren't prepared mentally. We weren't prepared financially. So it was very, very stressful. Thanks to the support of my family, this whole situation worked out. But like I was so nervous. I don't know, like I have everything that you can have. Like I was so stressed. Sometimes I was like literally shaking, and like I was shaking, I was crying, and I have like, I don't know, all the emotions. And I so it's kind of, and you kind of imagine when you're planning to move somewhere, you always imagine how is that going to be. You're trying to visualize everything, and it I wasn't expecting to be alone, let's say. I wasn't expecting to see things by myself, to basically, I was feeling quite guilty to feel like happy that I'm here, or because I was experiencing it all by myself, and I really wanted and I imagined it to happen with my husband. And so it was a very, very weird time when I first came here. But I really love Canada. Like the expectation and reality, like the reality is even like better than I could expect it to be. I'm planning on maybe making a video about my experience after 3 months of moving here. I know it's not a long time, but since like I'm not first time here, so I think it may be an interesting video. So if you're still watching this until this part, thank you so much, and I would like you to subscribe. I'm trying I'm trying different type of videos on this channel to figure out my thing. So once in a while, I'm going to tell like my story about moving to Canada, about our immigration, but mostly I'm very interested in just showing my day-to-day life. I'm really, really into, I don't want to say shopping, like maybe I can say fashion. I just love like thrifting. I love finding, searching stuff at Marshalls. I like the experience, the story behind the like finding the thing, not just like ordering it online. So I do that, and I think I'm gonna do more videos on that maybe. I just don't have a car yet, which makes things really, really like difficult when you live in Canada. So it's kind of hard to me to travel anywhere with my son, and especially to go shopping. But I'm trying to do my best to record that because I'm taking this YouTube thing very seriously. I wanted to do YouTube for as long as I can remember myself. I have an account on YouTube that I created almost the day I found out about YouTube back in the day. I would think, what if I like started YouTube back in the day? I would be like one of the oldies, one of the OG YouTubers, but it is what it is. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like the video if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.